Hello, we are looking in this video at Math 3 Unit 2, Worksheet 5, and in this lesson, again, Math 3 Unit 2 focuses on different multiple representations of the same problem and different ways of looking at the same exact mathematical concept. And so this one in particularly looks at graphically and numerically. You will not see any algebraic solving on this sheet. Algebraic solving is what we are most comfortable with and have spent a lot of time teaching kids how to do. And so this worksheet in particular tends to feel a little bit less comfortable for us. I would encourage you to sit down and do the entire worksheet yourself and really build your comfort. It's not as bad as it looks, but we'll look at it a little bit together here now. So the first page is really an exercise in reading very carefully. So the graph of f of x is shown here, and it says list all of the labeled points that are solutions for f of x equals 0. So this is f of x, and f of x equals 0 means that the y value would be 0. And if you think back to how you find x and y intercepts, if y is 0, that means that you will have an x-intercept. In fact, up here, y's are positive. Down here's y's are negative. Right here is when the y values are 0. At this point, which might be 3, 0, and this point, which might be 7, 0, or I'm not really sure. And so we're looking at x-intercepts, and that will, in this case, happen at point B and D. I found it a little hard to find answers on this page, and so I had my students circle answers. For number B, it says list all the label points that are solutions for y equals f of x. So now we're talking about any point where the y value would be the exact same as what you would get for f of x. Well, y is f of x. If I plug in 0 for f of x, I will get this y value right here. And so basically any point that is on the graph f of x will be true about. And so that would be A, B, C, D, and E. All points that are on f of x would be included in that. Now, for this one, list all of the points that are solutions for x equals 0. So think about where, here you have y equals f of x. X equals 0 means 0 is going to go in here. 0 is going to be plugged in for x, and you're going to get out a y value. And so if x equals 0, that means you're going to be getting the y-intercept. Graphically, here's where x is negative, here's where x is positive, here's where x is 0, and that's happening right at point A. So point A is the y-intercept. And the last one says f of 0. They want to know where all f of 0, what that equals, and it will be the y value at point A. So again, x is 0, it's the same as this, so this will equal to the y value of point A. Or you might accept the y-intercept of f of x, which happens at point A. Okay. So I would encourage you to notice all these places where 0 is used. Students get these mixed up a lot when f of x equals 0 versus f of 0 when x equals 0, all those different things, which ones are the same. So this is really the same as this, although this is asking for a y value, this one is asking for a point, and so the point would be point A, so it would be the y value of point A. Okay, so just reading really carefully. As you look at the next one, there's just more practice on those same things. So here I have that one already done for you. If you want to just check answers really quickly, you can pause this to do that. And those are some answers for you. Because there's two graphs, when I wanted g of x to equal f of x, I needed to notice that was intersections. So anyway, that's that one. When you get to the next page, we looked at this second page a little bit in the overview of Unit 2, so I'm not going to talk through that a lot. At that time, I talked about the students could plot these points, 0, -5, 1, -2, 2, 1, 3, -5. I, by the way, like to count by 2 on the x-axis just to spread things out a little bit. They could plot those points to answer these questions. or they can just think about the numerical values. So I just wanted to summarize for you, in case you didn't watch that other video, with graphing, to answer this one, I want to know, shade the interval between the integers where the solutions to f of x equal g of x must exist. So we're looking for where these intersect, and my two graphs, the blue and the green, seem to intersect between 1 and 2. And so I have shaded the interval between 1 and 2. This is how they are asked to answer on the Smarter Balance test several times, so it's a good way to get used to this graphical representation for their answer. But if you didn't want a graph, and it doesn't say they have to, we give them that option by giving them that piece of graph paper there. But it says, look at, my suggestion from the previous video was look at which y value is higher. So I can even make a note of that. At 0, f had the higher y value. At 1, f still had the higher y value. At 2, now g, this 2 is higher than 1, so now g has the higher value. And at 3, -1 is bigger than -5, so g has the higher y value. So for a while f was on top and g was underneath, and then g was on top and f was underneath, and that means between 1 and 2 the graphs must have crossed. And if you look at that here, the blue, for a while blue is above green, and then after a while green is above blue, and we see that happening between 1 and 2. So that's what you're looking for. When they ask where f of x must equal 0, you can look for the signs of the y values and where does it change, positive to negative or negative to positive. So this was f of x, so I'm going to look at the first line, and I see that the signs were negative, negative, positive, negative. So between these two, it changed from negative to positive. That means the graph was below the x-axis and then crossed over somewhere. And then between these two, it changed again, so that I have two separate segments. I know it's not equal to 0 at 2, because I have a value at 2, but between 1 and 2, it's equal to 0, and between 2 and 3, somewhere in there, it crosses and is equal to 0. Okay. And then this last one says, when is g equal to 4? And so I took the values of g, -7, -3, 2, and -1. And I looked for the places where 4 would be between those two numbers, and it would have to connect. -7 to -3, 4 is not in there. -3 to 2, 4 is not in there. 2 to -1, we're heading back down, 4 is not in there. So numerically, just by looking at the numbers, I would say there's no place that has 4 in between where we're going to have to pass through 4. Graphically, g is the green one. It comes up to 2, and 2 is really the highest value we know it's going to get to. It might go up much higher and come back down, but we have no way of knowing that. So there's no solution. Numerically, 4 is not between any two consecutive y values. When I did that for the last video, I think we looked at it graphically and I explained graphically. So remember that the explanation could be graphical or numerical. And since we're offering students multiple ways to understand, they may explain in a way that you're not necessarily expecting. And here again, I just want to remind you, without a lot of explaining, to think about what these mean. We're talking about meaning. So when we're looking for f equaling g, we're looking for intersection. We're looking for where f of x equals 0, that's like where the y equals 0, which is the x-intercept. When we're looking for g of x to equal 3, we want the y value of g to be 3. And so again, I looked between there and I found between -2 and +4. 3 is between those numbers, which means the graph is going to go past 3, somewhere in that interval. And so that's what's going on. And the last one just creates a more complicated table to read because there are 3 functions here, and as students think about points, for h they'll have to say, well, this is 0, -4, 1, -1, 2, 0, and they have to hunt down there to make their points, and it's just a little bit more complex. And so as they do that, they'll see. And the questions are really just the same. They have to be really careful that they're reading about f and h, not f and g, or h equaling 0 and not f equaling 0. But that this page goes on very similarly. So careful reading, and a little bit, I found it very handy to notate on here. G was higher, h was higher, g was higher. On this, the sign of h was negative, negative, 0, positive, negative. And so, so that was very helpful. I wish you the best of luck.